Ladies and gentlemen, up next, a journey to one of the world's most iconic prisons, Alcatraz. Let me welcome on stage the founder of Vito Labs and a pioneer in using reality capture, Kelsey. Pete, please join me on stage.
Hey.
Pete, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. One minute. Voila. Good morning. Been really excited to come here and talk about this project that has been nothing short of life-changing, and I'll tell you a little bit about why. I got hooked on reality capture maybe 15 years ago. I spent 25 years in AEC, basically working on the tech side of AEC, and immediately realized that reality capture is the ultimate tool for providing context. And how do you put a price on that, right? So I describe it as the ultimate currency, meaning anyone can look at one of the models that we're creating, or even just raw data, and go, I get it. I know what I'm looking at. I understand. To me, that is the most powerful, intoxicating thing that has ever crossed my path. And since then, I sort of morphed that into looking for a great story that I knew reality capture could make even better, right? Because it changes everything, right? It changes, have a look at this, to almost like come with us, come inside, have this experience with us. And I think that's magic, if you ask me, and still is all these years later. So I'll go anywhere, I'll do anything, I will try things. I've done a lot of work with television, putting reality capture into situations that some might think are crazy, and maybe I'll get laughed at. That's okay, because that box they tell you to think outside of? I don't have a box. There is no box. Screw the box. Okay? So, with that, yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the genesis of the Alcatraz project came about because of sea level rise. So this is a national park in the United States. It's one of the #1 tourist destinations in the state of California. So the National Park Service is entrusted with taking care of this place, keeping it open, keeping it safe, keeping it available, etc. So that was the reason, that was how the door, if you will, opened for me and the rest of the team when I said, no problem. But then I always asked one of the same 2 or 3 questions, and one was, no problem, sea level rise. Tell me about your existing digital assets. And I bet this will be familiar. The answer was, digital what? Right? Okay, so you don't have any. That means we're going to start at ground zero. That means I want to scan the whole place, everything, inside and out. And they said, okay. So before I start showing you some of the data, what few people know about Alcatraz is that it has a really long history. Okay, back to Native Americans. I mean, going back, they've been there since the Ice Age. But the gold rush in the United States, the American Civil War, Alcatraz, because of its strategic location in San Francisco Bay, had a lot of value militarily. So the first sort of large infrastructure was all military. So it was this huge fort with cannons all the way around it. What's the number? 108 heavy weapons around the site. Now what I've highlighted here, this is known as the Citadel. This is basically the barracks where the soldiers lived, worked, etc. Remember that place because it's still there. The cell house of the modern prison was built on top of that. Speaking of the modern prison, in 1907 they started building it, 1910 it was finished, and this is pretty much the Alcatraz that is famous, right? And all these bad characters who got locked up there. Al Capone, Birdman of Alcatraz, Machine Gun Kelly, Doc Barker, over there lower left, that's Whitey Bulger. Few people know that he was there in the late 50s, early 60s. Crazy story in 1946, known as the Battle of Alcatraz, where there was a prison riot and the prisoners took over the cell house and they called in the Marines, and the Marines came to the island and started mortaring and shooting and basically trying to put down this riot, and I'll show you some of that evidence in the data. And then of course the 62 escape, a lot of movies been made about these three guys. They made it off the island. Nobody knows if they're alive or dead. The point is they got out, and it remains a really interesting mystery. Once the Park Service said, okay, yeah, you can scan the whole island. Then I started thinking logistically, okay, how are we going to do this? And one of the immediate challenges was it's an island, and the only way to get there is on a ferry. So you have to take the boat out in the morning, and then the last boat, and then nobody's on the island except for one security guard overnight. So I said, can we spend the night on the island? And they said, you sure you want to do that? And I said, yes, because the other key thing here is they only gave us, I had a 3-week window to get all this done. So 3 weeks relying on the ferries, I knew there was no way that was going to work. So they put us in D block, 3rd tier, and we slept in cells for 3 weeks. And it was as cool as it sounds, believe me. There's an inner 9-year-old right here that's never really grown up that thinks that's one of the coolest things I've ever done, okay? And a lot of stories about it. So project like this, for me, because I'm an AEC, civil survey, geospatial guy, the first thing we're gonna do is establish a survey control network, because we're gonna be tying all kinds of disparate data together, right? There's gonna be drone-based LiDAR, drone-based photogrammetry, terrestrial laser scanning, SLAM LiDAR, multispectral imagery, and whatever other surprises happened along the way. But it started with that, so I could tie it all together with as high a degree of accuracy as we possibly could. This is my friend John with PCL Construction. He came out and just killed it. We had 60 GCPs. You know, we ran all the math between all of them, and it came down to like 6 millimeters, which we're thrilled to have that kind of fidelity. We flew a lot of drones, a lot of them. Inspired Flight 1200i with a Phoenix LiDAR Ranger 120. If you've never used a 5-return laser, try one. Change your life. We flew the Hovermap in the cell house. Why not? Right? We were there. We flew the EB. We used the EB to fly multispectral and some photogrammetry, actually. Yeah, that's the Astro by the lighthouse there, the EB by the lighthouse, and then the E3 from Flyability. This thing was super cool, super cool. And why all these tools? Because I also knew right from the beginning that there was no one tool that could do all of this. It didn't exist, okay? So I knew I was gonna have to call in every favor, every friend, beg, borrow, steal, what have you, because this was also a pro bono project. Nobody got paid, I didn't get paid. None of the team, who you'll meet in a minute, it was strictly, this is gonna be cool, please come. And everybody did. The drone-based LiDAR, we flew all the drone missions from the roof of the cell house because Alcatraz doesn't close. There's 7,000 to 10,000 visitors per day. So we had to work around that. So we'd work really in the morning, we'd work at night, but you know, oh, and the other miracle, if you know San Francisco, look at the weather. It was a miracle. It was literally a miracle because the weather there can be terrible, especially in December. Photogrammetry, we flew, this is a free-fly Astro, super cool drone. Sony A7R4, you'll see the data in a minute. This is my buddy Jeremiah and the team from Esri who just came and knocked this out of the park. Can't wait to show you that mesh. The E3. We sent this thing into the worst places you can imagine. Sewers, smokestacks, cisterns, crazy places that, you know, weren't safe for us to go, or the Park Service said, nobody's, you know, you're not allowed to go in there. Like, this is a Civil War era sewer line that we tried to put this thing in, and we got some good data. We didn't get as far as I would have liked, but I was so impressed with this thing because, of course, it's doing LiDAR, but it's got its own light source and 4K video all at the same time. Pretty cool. The Hovermap flying in the cell house. You know, if there are 5 or 6 of us spending the night in Alcatraz and we have all this gear with us, we're going to try stuff, right? We're going to take chances. We're going to force ourselves to innovate. The Hovermap, boy, if there is, gosh, a gold star to the one sensor we used, it would be the Hovermap because we had 2 of them, and basically we did all the interiors with the Hovermap because, again, 3 weeks, I knew right away SLAM was going to be the way to go. Because terrestrial laser scanning, granted, a lot has changed in the years since this was done, and I've seen some of it, and it's amazing. But at the time, SLAM was the only solution, and the Hovermap was just amazing. You can put it on a pole that we did there. We put it on Spot. We sent Spot into buildings that are off limits that were contaminated by lead, asbestos, that type of thing, that we couldn't fly in, because if you flew in a space like that, the rotor wash would kick up all that hazardous material. So Spot was an amazing solution for that. The Hovermap on the backpack, this is one of the latest things from them. I actually didn't believe the marketing I saw that, you know, with this RTK antenna on the backpack, all the data drifts and slips associated with SLAM scanner is gone. And I said, show me. And they showed me, and it's amazing. So a couple of additional miracles happened because, well, that made this project successful. And number one, absolutely, is the team. All of these people came. Nobody got paid. They said, when do you want us there? How can we help? My favorite sort of subtle bit of this is that a lot of these folks, if you look at them, might be competitors out in the marketplace, right? But there was none of that. There was no, like, you know, don't look at what I'm doing, or, you know, keep, it was none of that. It was more like, watch this. Or somebody's struggling with a problem and somebody be, oh, I think I have an answer for that, or I think I have a workaround for that. It was just amazing, and I couldn't be more grateful. So I might be the one up here talking about the project, but these are the people who made it happen. So my endless gratitude to them. On the software side, post-processing, again, pro bono, you know, I had no money. It's like, can I have a 30-day license? And then maybe 30 days more. And everybody was just amazing. So again, thank you to these folks. Yeah. Yeah. And here we are. Some dear friends now. I mean, it's why I love this conference. It's why I love this sense of community. It's just the same thing up here, except rather than being in a beautiful hall, we're out getting dirty scanning. It's great. Okay? Second sort of miracle. By the second or third day, I realized there's a locked door, and who has the key? Well, they're on holiday. Oh, God, this is never going to work. So I took my problem to the Park Service, and they were amazing. They handed me the keys to Alcatraz. I'm not making this up. And they basically said, don't do anything stupid, and don't get hurt. And so that was huge. Again, the project wouldn't have happened without that. And then finally, the other surprise was, so we're scanning all day long. So people are coming in and out of the office and dumping raw data. And by day one, I'm freaking out because, surprise, the Wi-Fi on Alcatraz sucks. It's terrible, okay? Like dial-up speeds from 20 years ago. So, you know, I'm dying a little bit by the hour. And again, my buddy John said, you know, I got a friend at AMD, let me make a call. And the heavens opened up, and FedEx delivers this prototype AMD supercomputer, 96-core Threadripper Pro, half a terabyte of RAM, 12 terabytes of hard drive space, and the world changed. That's like, I think I'm going to live through this, you know, and I think we're going to actually be able to pull this off. So that was a huge, huge component to that. That's now evolved into, because again, that was a prototype. It's now evolved into the ThinkStation P8 with the Threadripper Pro in it. It's just astonishing. And for the geeks in the house, this was so cool. I was like, Control-Alt-Delete, go to the task manager, and I squealed. I literally squealed. I'm like, guys, you have to come. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these 96 cores running at 4.68 gigahertz. It was so cool, and that's the nerd in me. So, the data. This is the drone-based LiDAR. Thanks to Bert and Nubagon, it's been getting all kinds of attention. It was a thrill for me. I took a picture of it. It's out on the big board out in the hall here. I sent it to the entire team. It's like, look at this. It's really great. The media's been running with it. I mean, it's just fabulous. So drone-based LiDAR from that 5-return laser, just stunning. Some of the Hovermap data, inside and out. The lighthouse. Again, this is what I love about what we all do. We make the invisible visible. We give people perspective that no one has ever had before. And again, how do you put a price on that? Okay? Some Hovermap data, that's a still of it. I think there's a video of the same thing. So colorized SLAM data. That's the Citadel, the oldest part of the fort there underneath. Just the 1962 escape. You don't go to Alcatraz and not spend maybe a little extra time on that, right? So Jeremy with the Hovermap, we scanned it all. This is, so they, this is the, what do they call it, utility corridor. So they got out of their cells, they climb up these pipes every night for weeks, and they create this. This is their workshop, and they're building rafts and life jackets and paddles and all this stuff up there. That's actually a crime scene photo from the FBI from 62 or 63. Scanned it all. And just, you know, cross-section through some early data because we were dying to see it. And then the hole in the rooftop of the cell house where they actually got out onto the roof. The Battle of Alcatraz. Remember, the Marines are bombing. Well, there's the north gun gallery is off limits to visitors. So ladders, climbing up bars, crawling in there, and the archaeology is spectacular. There's graffiti from guards, and then the most horrific, pornographic graffiti I've ever seen in my life from the rioters who took over the gun gallery. I wish I could show you, you know, see me at the bar, and maybe I'll show you a picture, but it's... This is where the rioters, the last three of them, this is the utility corridor. The Marines are on the roof. They're jackhammering holes through the concrete and dropping hand grenades into that utility corridor, which is where the last of the rioters met their end. This is Building 64. This building nearly killed us. Tons and tons of scans. This was lead, asbestos. This is, the lowest level is Civil War era. You can see these huge gun ports, those big squares, and then the modern construction, which is all wooden, is on top of it. And as this progresses, we get into a cross-section, again, perspective that no one has seen before. It's just like, wow. It never gets old to me, ever. Oh, which, by the way, for all of you who put point clouds and meshes and splats up on LinkedIn, don't stop, okay? It's the coolest thing ever. And I'm always looking forward to the next one that I just go, wow, I gotta get better at this, okay? Multispectral, one of my favorite new tools. Yeah, it's 2D at the moment, but that near infrared and near edge infrared can make the invisible visible. Like, there's some paint striping down here which you can't see with a naked eye, and we're like, what's that? Turns out it was helipad from way back when, 60s or something like that. So it's designed to work with plants, and the biologists will have this, and hopefully something really interesting will happen, but we did it, and we saw that, and we thought that was great. The photogrammetry from Esri. Talk about squeal. I saw that chain link fence and squealed. Because 10 years ago, because I've been at this a long time ago, a chain link fence in a mesh, to me, that's witchcraft, right? But it looks great. It's amazing. I'm so happy with this. Well, what happens when you start putting things together? Drone-based LiDAR, interior SLAM-based LiDAR, and then you can give Alcatraz a bit of an X-ray or a CAT scan. This is where it gets so fun for me, is yeah, I'm just a capture guy, but I'm smart enough to know that the real magic comes after. It's what we used to call the VSA, the visualization, simulation, analysis. Never gets old. This just came in from Eric, from the Esri folks, view shed analysis, you know, tip of the iceberg about how this data is going to be repurposed. This one, again, in that vein of sort of making the invisible visible, here's a modern building with a gabled roof that we can actually remove in the data because it abuts right up to the original gate to Alcatraz when it was a Civil War fort. And there's a really cool sign over the gate which just flashed by there that looks like that. The original name of Alcatraz in Spanish, Alcatrazes, from 1857. Reality capture is doing some really cool stuff with the data. This just came in yesterday. This is Twinmotion. And just tip of the iceberg, because I asked them, it's like, can you get me something I can show with 3D eyes? I'd really like to. Like, okay, we'll put something together. Just wait, is all I can say. So, do I have to say that this project was as much fun as you can have with your clothes on? It literally was. We were, we're out there with Hovermaps, and I'm like, Jeremy, it's like, don't cross the streams from Ghostbusters. And somebody took the picture, and we all laughed. The point is, we had a blast. It was as fun as it looks. And you don't go into the mugshot room and scan it and not get your mugshot taken. Because we went in there, and one of these guys said, hey, there's an app. It's like mugshot.com or something, and it'll take your mugshot. So we did that, and we thought it was a riot. And it was great fun. So thanks for having me. Thanks for your time. I really hope we can all do something cool together going forward. Thanks very much.
Let's give it up for Pete. Fantastic. What an incredible example of the collaboration, and what a result.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of questions came in.
Okay.
I'll take one or two. So, Renata is asking, did you find any hidden or undocumented structures during the scan?
It depends on who you ask. You know what? I think it's safe to say yes. There were a few discoveries. It's not like a hidden tunnel or something from the movie The Rock, anything like that. There were subtle things, like how things were constructed, that kind of thing. So not like Hollywood, wow kind of things, but yeah, you can't take on a project like that and not have discovery happen at some level.
Got it. It's part of the joy and enjoyment.
Joy.
One more question. Has there been any interest in your data from the gaming/movie industry?
Yes. One of the first things I told the Park Service is I said, I guarantee you it's just a matter of time before you hear from Hollywood. Why? Because you guys know this. They could film the next Alcatraz type movie and green screen it all and save millions and millions and millions of dollars from having to do it on site. Just green screen it all. Gaming, stay tuned. I can't talk much about that, but the wheels are turning.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Pete one more time.